For TeCK Alliance, I'm Arms Bumanlag. The construction of detached additional dwelling units, ADUs, has the potential to increase housing supply in municipalities right across Canada, and in turn, helping Canadians access stable, affordable housing, all within their existing neighborhoods. Now, locally, there is some amazing work being done, fostered out of experience. I sat down with Sarah Cipkar from ADUSearch.ca about the collaboration with organizations locally and how this can help with the housing crisis right here in Windsor and right around Canada.
Yeah, so it was early 2020, and I started thinking about what I was going to do with COVID, and also I was starting my PhD in the fall of 2020, and I realized that there was potential in my own backyard. I realized that I could build a detached ADU. The city of Windsor had just passed new bylaws in actually 2019, and so I started thinking about what if I built a house here and what that could look like, and started kind of just my curiosity started piquing. And so I actually was able to work with a builder who's a friend, and we kind of developed the whole thing. And I broke ground August 2020, and it just kind of got me itching to understand ADUs more broadly, not just like in Windsor, but kind of beyond. So that's kind of how I started down this path.
And interesting in the news too, Sarah, this has been sort of a topic of discussion, not only here locally, but provincially and really nationally, because I guess the big change that's coming and has come really with, keeping family close to home
Yeah.
and that aspect of ADUs too. And I'd imagine, with this, you have seen that resonate through not only here in Windsor, but right across the province.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a big push for housing like at large in terms of our communities and our cities, but actually individually there's a lot of families who are let's say there's an older parent, an aging parent, that you're thinking about what's the next step for them, and can there be a way that we have proximity but still have privacy. Could also be the case for young adults who are wanting to move out of the house, wanting a little more independence and freedom, but don't have the economic means to be able to enter the housing market, because as we know, it's been a little crazy lately. So ADUs really provide that flexible housing solution that you could also then just even rent out for additional income, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's a really unique kind of housing unit that solves a lot of problems.
Now, tell me about ADUSearch and this proof of concept here in Windsor, and this supply challenge, the housing supply challenge that was part of this.
Yeah, so we were funded through the Housing Supply Challenge, which is through Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, and it was really the data-driven round. So the task was bringing together different pieces of data to improve housing supply and affordability. And our essential thesis or our argument was, we have a lot of potential in residential lots that we're not even tapping into. And so we developed a proof of concept, testing that, actually measuring the backyards and measuring the buildable areas to see, can we fit a minimum sized ADU on this backyard? And we found initially in Windsor that just like 20,000 lots alone could fit a minimum sized detached ADU. And the province, for example, in Ontario, has said that, the city of Windsor, I think the target is around 30,000, a little over 30,000 new housing units in 10 years. And if you think we have 20,000 lots that can have a detached ADU, how many of those can we actually convert to housing units? And then that would, massively impact those housing targets. And so right now, the one city, for example, that has a lot of laneway homes, which is Vancouver, the maximum amount of housing detached ADUs that they're producing in a year is a couple hundred. So it's really thinking about, we can really scale this up nationally. And so our tool is really designed to show the potential in bigger markets. We mapped Toronto, we mapped Ottawa, Hamilton, Calgary, to see we're actually sitting on a lot of low density residential land that could, house one of these detached ADUs.
So, Sarah, this would be if you can conceptualize ADUs for people who are trying to wrap their heads around this concept. Sure. This is essentially a big part of this solution, right? To meet some of the family needs and then I guess social needs too, while not necessarily making an expansion of neighborhoods, but really using those, like you said, spaces within the backyards of those existing neighborhoods. So this could be very beneficial heading down in the next 10, 15 years for different cities, including Windsor.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. The thing that I love about detached ADUs, I mean, a lot of people like to call them garden suites, tiny houses, backyard cottages. They kind of fit like little puzzle pieces in the existing framework of the neighborhood, and they're not much bigger than garages. And so I've seen them, in all different types of neighborhoods now, and they really fit in, with the scale of the neighborhood. They're not taller than the main dwelling. They look like a little garage. garage, usually have a little courtyard. I mean, that's what I did with mine. I have a little like seating area with a fire table in the middle. And so they really provide even these like social connections between whether it's like, myself and like my tenant who's now my friend, or if it's different family members. And so they really do add that kind of gentle intensification in neighborhoods without really disrupting the actual fabric and character of the neighborhood.
How crucial has been, I'd assume, Sarah, technology in assisting you with this entire process and getting ADUSearch off the ground? I mean, people want to obviously reach out and see, what's possible through this technology. I would assume is a big factor in the success so far of ADUSearch.
Yeah, and I know this is for TeCK Week. And if you had told me, a few years ago that I would be running a team, leading a team of people, developing a tech solution to solve the housing crisis, I wouldn't have believed you. I think of myself more as a researcher, policy person. But I've had a really excellent team who have kind of seen all these pieces, all the different zoning bylaws. We've created a standardized input system where we can look at a city's zoning bylaws and say, okay, how does this then filter into our actual then GIS model? And then how does this get visualized on our actual website? And all of those things just reduce the barrier for the average homeowner. Like right now, the process would be you have to go to your zoning bylaws. They're 300 pages. You don't know where to start. Then you actually have to take the measurements, get your map, figure it out. And our tool kind of solves all that for you. And I think that's kind of like the beauty of it, is that we're really able to highlight both to the average homeowner, here's your buildable area, here's where you can build in your backyard, but then also to policymakers to say, here's the actual potential, here's maybe some of the financial and tax revenue implications. Maybe you can think about incentivize more of these units. And so I think, in this case, we used data to then create a technology solution that, I think really empowers homeowners, but also provides solutions for the housing crisis in our cities.
Some exciting news coming up too in the month of April. You're going to be launching out of a local organization here in Windsor, Essex.
Yeah. So we've been really fortunate. Family Services Windsor Essex and their executive director, Joy Suck, has been really supportive, and she's incubated us for the last 2 years. But we actually have a large team. There's about 10 of us across the whole country. It's kind of starting to be outside the mission vision of Family Services, which does a lot of really excellent work around homelessness and housing here. And so we are looking at continuing to build that relationship with homeowners and builders and try to connect them directly. And so we're looking at launching into a new entity and kind of starting down that pathway in terms of being able to have sustainability for the tool, grow to more cities, and again, solving more of those problems for homeowners as well.
And I would imagine once you actually get someone to physically, tangibly see and feel what an ADU is and walk through and then kind of get it in their mind that this is something possible and something that is certainly doable, that really is a game changer for, I think, a lot of people who may be sitting on some land thinking, hey, I can keep mom and dad here. I can keep family members close to home, or even, like you said, turn it into sort of an income generating accessory unit to their home.
Yeah, for sure. And, to that point, like right now, that process of doing that is a really fractured and kind of difficult process for the average homeowner. You have to engage a lot of different industry stakeholders, builders, architects, the municipality, financing, if you need to go to your bank, all these things. And so the average person, I know for me, when I built mine, it was like a part-time job. Like I was figuring all these things out. And so we want to take a lot of that knowledge and try to streamline it as much as possible, because right now ADUSearch kind of solves the first problem. We solve, is my lot eligible? And, in so doing, we're able to showcase to homeowners and policymakers the potential. But from there, there's a lot of other questions. How can I afford this? What are my financing options? Who do I need to contact for a builder? What models are available? What is the municipality requiring in terms of permitting? And so it is a lot of education and a lot of information that's needed. And so that's where we're hoping to kind of continue the tool and continue down that path.
Tech Talk continues. From business acceleration, building and engaging the tech community, and championing tech and innovation. Follow WeTech Alliance on social media or visit them on the web.